Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel SoFly Styles. My name is Sophia Abdulsalam. In my last video, I did a tutorial on how to draft a princess dart bustier, which is the upper part of the blouse you're seeing on screen right now. So in today's tutorial, we are going to be sewing the pieces together. We are going to be cutting out our pattern on fabric, and we are going to be sewing it together. So if you are watching this video, I want to believe that you have drafted your pattern and you are ready to cut it out on fabric and sew everything. So today's focus is going to be on just the upper part. So the peplum part of the blouse, I am going to release a tutorial on how I achieve this full peplum later on in the week. But as for today, we are just going to focus on sewing the bustier part. So if this is something you are interested in, do well to stay with me till the end. And if this is your first time seeing my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Do well to like, share, and please subscribe. If you have not seen the pattern drafting tutorial, I'm going to put the link in the description box for you, and you can just click on the link that is showing on the screen right now. So without wasting much of our time, let's get started with the sewing. So I have cut out everything that I need on my fabric, as you can see: center front, side front, the back, the peplum. I've even gone ahead to cut out the wording. So I cut the main fabric and the lining already. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you here. So as for the center front, I cut it on fold, ensuring that this part is resting on the closed part of the fabric. Okay, so for my sewing allowance, I added ½ inch sewing allowance all around on this center front. So while for the side front, I did ½ inch all around here down to the armhole part and the hemline, but on the side I did 1½ inch. Though this 1½ inch, I would advise you do 2 inches if you are going to be doing the same kind of sewing that I did in this video. Okay, I would advise you do 2 inches so that you have enough allowance inside your clothes. So as for the back, I did ½ inch all around down to the armhole. Please don't forget to add ½ inch to your armhole, the hemline as well, and the side back too. I did 1½. So if you do 1½ for your side front, do 1½ for your side back too. And if you do 2 inches for your side front, do 2 inches for your side back too. So the center back, I did 1 inch from my zipper allowance. Okay, every other place I did ½ inch. So this is my peplum here. So like I said earlier, I'm going to be doing a detailed tutorial on how I cut out this peplum later on. Okay, but for now I have cut out my peplum. So for this tutorial, I didn't use up to 2 yards of fabric. I think when I measured it, I think I used 68 inches of fabric, and I still even have something remaining for my fabric, as you can see. So if you're on the plus size, you can be budgeting like 2.5 yards for yourself, but for me, I used 68 inches, and that is the fabric that was still remaining that I just showed you. Okay, so I interfaced my fabric before I cut it out. I used stay on the main fabric, while on the lining I used paper stay, white paper stay. I'm sorry it's not showing it's because I used white lining. So use stay on your main fabric and I used paper stay. You can use stay on your main lining as well, but because I don't have enough stay, that's why I use paper stay on my lining. So I have cut out my wording. I don't know if you can notice the shape that is going on the center front pattern and on the side front. That is the shape of the padding for the bust when I was drafting it. So if you would like to see how I draft pattern for my bust padding, I'm going to put the link for the tutorial in the description box. I already have a tutorial on how I pad my bust already on the channel, so you can just check it out. I'll put the link in the description. So you can see I did a sweetheart neckline for the padding. So you're going to see a detailed tutorial on how I do pad my bust. Okay, I'll put the link in the description box, so check the link that is up on the screen right now. So for the peplum, I put stay on the main fabric as well, but as for the lining, I think I used gum stay. There's actually a kind of interfacing that is called gum stay. It is like paper stay, but it's a little bit thicker than paper stay, and it's a little bit stiff. Okay, though it can easily tear like paper stay as well. So when you get to the market, just tell them you want to buy gum stay, but you can actually use crinoline mesh. But I don't like crinoline mesh because it's usually like pinch somebody on the skin. I don't like that thing. But this mesh, this gum stay I used actually worked fine. Okay, so you can use color stay as well, but I don't like working with color stay too. So the gum stay work okay for me, because it's not like I'm going to a party with the blouse. I want to make sure the blouse is something I can easily pick up when I'm going out. That's why I use something mild and still moderate. So gum stay on the lining, stay on the main fabric for the peplum. While for the main fabric, like for the upper part, I use stay on the main fabric, paper stay on the lining. So what I'm just going to do now is I am just going to go ahead to gum my wording on the main fabric and on the lining. Yes, I used to put wording on the lining of my clothes too. So I'm gonna head to gum the wording down now. As you can see, everything is in place. So what we are just going to do now is to start sewing, and we are going to be starting with the front part. Our sewing is going to be starting with the front part. So I'm going to set these back pieces and the peplum aside for now. Okay, so to start with, you are going to take your center front. Okay, so now you can see that I've marked my sewing allowance on the side front. Yes, I usually mark on the side front. I don't mark on the center front, because when I'm sewing, it is the side front that will be facing me when I'm sewing. That is why I usually mark my sewing allowance on the side front. Okay, and it is this side front that usually misbehave when you are sewing. So I want to make sure that I can easily control it when I'm sewing. That's why I like to put it on top when I'm sewing. So the first thing you're going to do is to notch your nipple. Please, when you cut out your clothes, make sure you notch your nipple point. It is very important, because when you want to sew it now, you need to make sure that the nipple points on the side front and on the center front, they match. So I'm just going to put them together like this, and I'm going to use my pin to secure it neatly. Then I'm going to start arranging. So the arranging I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be arranging the up towards the up first. Okay, please, you are going to need a lot of pin. Okay, I like working with pin. I like to pin my clothes down, so that I don't want anything like one is longer than the other. So I usually pin them down first, just to secure, so that it doesn't shift when I'm sewing. So pin up first, like I am doing like this. Okay, pin it down neatly. By the time you are pinning, you will notice that it is equal. Okay, for as long as when you draft your pattern, it is equal on the pattern, it is going to be equal on this when you are sewing as well, unless you didn't pin it well. Okay, so unless you didn't pin it well, and once you pin it well like this, it is not going to shift when you are sewing it. Okay, all right, so just pin it down neatly. As you can see, I'm not fast forwarding this part. I just want you guys to see it very well as I am doing it. So pin everything. By the time you are done pinning, if you do your sewing allowance correctly, you will notice that the side front has a little bit of excess at this upper part. That is totally normal if you did your sewing allowance like the way I did mine. I hope you notice that the side front at the upper part there, it is a little bit giving pointiness. Yes, that is because of the way I added my sewing allowance, and I prefer it this way, because I can, like, if there is excess there, after I'm done sewing, I can easily cut it off than me not adding enough sewing allowance. Okay, so now I am done arranging the upper part. I'm just going to arrange the down part too. So this part, this nipple points down to the underbust, can be a little bit tricky, because like the side front is usually a little bit bigger than the center front, but it is not so much that you won't be able to like push it in when you are sewing. Though you can draft your own and you won't experience that, but I experienced that in my own. So I'm just saying, just in case you experience, but that still would not affect your sewing. Like, you just need to like, once you pin it down, you won't have issue. Okay, you won't have issue. Just make sure that the notch on the underbust for the center front matches with the notch on the center front, on the side front. Like, make sure the underbust notches match. Okay, so I'm just going to do that for the other side of for the other side too. Then I'll do the same thing for the lining. Then I'm just going to go ahead to sew it. So another important thing is, I would advise you to always mark your sewing allowance, in case, especially when you are sewing down this bust, this cup side, because it can be tricky when you're sewing it. So but once you like mark your sewing allowance like I did, when you're sewing, it will not be tricky. You can easily just follow along with the line you marked, knowing that you are not over sewing it on one side and the other. And you can easily arrange, as you're sewing, you can arrange your cups. Okay, you can arrange your cups, like you will have enough room to arrange your cuff, because you know that you already have a line that you mark, because you won't have to worry that let me not over sew it this side though, while I'm still trying to like arrange my cup. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So I'm just sewing it here. You can see I'm not fast forwarding it, and as you can see that as I'm sewing, I am arranging as well, even though I pinned it down. Okay, so make sure you do the same thing as well. Take your time, you don't have to rush, because if you rush, you may likely not sew it well, and it will affect the final outlook of your cup. So look at it here. I'm done sewing this part and everything is looking okay. There is no fold at the other side too. So I'm going to sew the lining as well too, and I'm going to show you what I have next. So right now I am done sewing, including the peplum, but I'm just going to do a separate video for the peplum later on. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to remove the pins from the cloth, the main fabric and the lining. Then we can head over to our ironing board to iron everything out. But you can see what the blouse is giving already. See the armhole part, it is looking straight, no shortage. So now what we are just going to do now is we'll take this to the iron to iron it out. But before that, we will need to remove this wording that we have on our seam allowance. Okay, so look at what I'm just doing here. I'm just going to remove the wording like this. Okay, then I'm going to use my scissors to trim it off. Please be careful when you are doing this. You don't want to cut on your clothes. Okay, so just make sure you remove it neatly and you trim it down as much as you can. Please be careful, don't cut on your clothes. Okay, so then after I'm done removing it like this, I'll remove for the lining and the other side of the main fabric as well. Then I'll head over to my iron to start ironing. So to iron, we are going to need our bust arm. Okay, so to iron this, you will need your bust arm, like I said. Then after you trim off the budding on the seam allowance, then you're going to open it up like this. Then use your steam iron to iron it down. So when you're ironing, don't forget to notch the after you sew everything and you start ironing, don't forget to notch the under bust part, because if you don't notch it, it tends to, like, it will be folding up a little bit around there, and you want it to be relaxed and everything. But when you are notching, make sure you don't cut through the thread you sew with. Okay, so to iron as well, make sure you notch your bust area like this, and the notching, be careful not to cut on the thread you sew with. Okay, so open it up like this and press it down with your steam iron. Then after this, I am now going to use my stay to cover up my seam. But for now, let's make sure that our cup is well ironed and molded. So as you can see, I'm not fast forwarding this part so much, because I want you to see how long it is taking me to mold just one cup, like one cup of my blouse. So you need to take your time when you are ironing. Another thing is, even if you did all the necessary padding, you used wording, you used laminated foam, you cage it, however thing you did on the bust area, you still need to know how to mold your cup, because, like, despite all of this, if you don't iron it well, it is still not going to come out really nice. Okay, so you need to learn to iron. So I want you to just see the way I am molding mine. Okay, so mold it in and out. Then when you are done and you see that your seam line is flat and relaxed, then you can go ahead to use your stay to cover up your seam, like I am doing now. So I would advise you cover it up, because Bustier, Princess Bustier, Panel that Bustier, they tend to, like, the seam at the cup part, I don't know, maybe it's my machine, no, but they tend to like rip off easily. So when you use your stay to cover it up. At least it will secure it a little. And another reason why you should use stay to cover up your seam, especially this bust area, is it gives structure to the cup. Okay, it gives structure to the cup. So these are the things I do when I am making my clothes. I don't use ready-made bra cup in my bustier. This is what I do. Sometimes I use laminated foam. Maybe the client pays me, like, like pay me well. I use laminated foam too. But if I want to just stay moderate and still have that copy nice look, I use wadding on both the lining and on the main fabric, and it still sits well. So here I am done molding like my main fabric and the lining. As you can see, the cup is looking like copy already, like is giving. So that is the benefit of ironing. So as for the lining I used is not the cotton lining I used in my other tutorial. It's the regular Aba lining that the lightweight one. So if I use stay to cover it up, it is still not going to be. So I tried to top stitch the bust area instead, just to secure it. I didn't use stay to cover up the seam of that lining, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I did top stitch, so you can do that too if you are using a lightweight lining. So I'm just going to set the center front and side now to work on the front and side to work on the back piece. So I'm just putting them together here. As you can see, I even marked out my sewing allowance on them as well, okay, because I don't like anything like my stitches is not straight. That's why I like to mark out my sewing allowance. So after I put the center front and the center back together, so I'm just going to put the center back together as well. Okay, I'm just marking out my zip allowance now of 1 inch. And please, you need to be careful. You notice that my own center front and the armhole side, they look alike, so it was a little bit confusing. I even went ahead to mark ½ inch for my zip allowance at first. So make sure you can identify your patterns correctly. Okay, so now I am done sewing the back pieces together. As you can see, what I'm just going to do now is to turn the neckline of my clothes. I'm starting with the front first. So when I was cutting out the fabric when I was cutting it out on fabric, I notched the center front on the lining and on the main fabric. So make sure when you want to turn your neckline like I am doing, make sure the notch on the center front matches. So now I'm going to pin the neckline together, and I'm going to use my ½ inch sewing allowance to go and sew it down. Okay, after sewing it down, I am going to do an under stitch or top stitch. Okay, after I sew down the neckline, I will notch it, then do a top stitch. Then the side, I am going to sew it down with ½ inch. Okay, I'm going to sew down the side with ½ inch. Please, I hope you understand what I'm saying. This side, I'm going to sew it down with ½ inch. After I have finished turning the neckline and top stitching, then I'll move to the side to sew it down with ½ inch. I'll do the same thing for the back too, but to do that first, this center back, I ironed the zip allowance open. I hope you can see it from the video. After I was done sewing it, I ironed it open, the lining and the main fabric as well. But now I am ripping it apart. You are going to understand the reason why I first of all sew and iron down before I'm doing this. You'll understand it later on, but for now, just watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to turn the neckline as well, and I'm going to sew down the side as well. But remember to top stitch your neckline for the back as well. If you are doing a low back like me, it is curvy. So when you turn the neckline, notch it and top stitch before you sew the side together. Okay, so I'm just going to do that on the machine. Then I'm going to iron it down before I come back to show you what I have to. Okay, so right now this is it. As you can see, I have sewn down the neckline, I have sewn down the side as well. Can you see what it is looking like inside? It is looking neat already. Okay, like this is what your blouse should be looking like at this stage. Okay, and I sew down the side with ½ inch. Okay, so what I'm just going to do now is I would need to put the front and the back piece together. I would need to join the shoulder, then we would need to shape our blouse as well. So to join the shoulder, I'm just going to go ahead and sew it down with half of an inch. Okay, so that, but let's shape our shoulder so that I can do all the sewing together. So to shape our shoulder, I will come like this. Can you see where I'm measuring? How I'm measuring mine? I'm going to measure what I have on the center front like this. I mean on the front like this, from one side to the other. So I have 21 and a half, I think. So this 21 and a half, I'm not going to place it on the side back too, but it will be stopping on the line I created with my iron for the zip allowance. I hope you understand. So I'll take it to the second side as well, starting from the line I created with my iron for the zip allowance. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So after I measured, I think I have about, I don't know how many inches that is, but my bust is 36. So I will now subtract 36 from whatever I measured. The whatever excess that I have, I will now divide it into 4. So after dividing into 4, I think I have 1.5 or 1.25 to mark. So I'll just mark it on my side back like this and on my side front like this. Please note that the part I am marking is the part that will face me when I put the two together and I start sewing on the machine. Okay, so whatever excess you have, divide it by 4 and mark it on your side front and on your side back. So then you are going to move to the waist area like this, the same way we did for the when we're measuring the bust. I'll measure, then take it down to where the line for my zip allowance is. Okay, then whatever excess you are, I have 32 here, but my waist is 28, so that means I have 4 inches excess. So 4 divided by 4 gave me 1, so I'm just going to be marking that 1 inch on my side front and on my side back, and I'm just going to take my ruler to connect it with a straight line. So after this, I can pin it down together and take it to the machine to sew it. But before I sew the side, I will need to sew the shoulder part too first. Okay, I'll need to sew down the shoulder part first, then after I'm done, I'm now going to sew down the side. Okay, but for now, let's just mark our sewing allowance and start taking the machine to sew. So after I was done sewing everything together, this is what I have, and this is what the inside looks like. As you can see, I've stitched everything down together. So what we are now going to do now is to bring over the peplum that I have already prepared, as you can see, put it and sew it down together with the upper part. So it is important to ensure that the width of the peplum that you have here is your waist measurement plus your zip allowance. Okay, my waist is 28 inches, then 1 inch for zip allowance makes it 30 inches wide. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm saying. We are going to be sewing from one side, from the zip allowance down to the other side. So when you are sewing, you need to make sure that this your seam allowance is facing the back. Okay, this zip allowance is, this seam allowance that you have on the side is facing the back. So what I'm just going to do now is, I have already notched my peplum, the center of my peplum, and I have notch on the center of my bodies too, on the waist. So I'm going to put the notch together, then I'm going to take my pin to secure it down neatly. All right, so just use your pin to secure it. Though I would advise that the upper part, that is the bodies, the waist area, it is open after I join it with the lining. I would advise you take it to the machine to sew it down, that waist area first, so that the lining won't be shifting when you are sewing. Okay, so but for now, I have gone ahead to sew down my blouse, as you can see, the peplum to the main body. So if you have a scissor or an overlocking machine, you can go ahead and overlock this your seam allowance that you have here. But for me, I don't have a scissor. Another thing I can actually do is to tape it, like we use bias to tape it, or use the main fabric to tape it. But I was in haste to finish up this tutorial ASAP, so I couldn't do all of that. But don't be like me. If you have a scissor, just do that. use it, overlock it first, or use a bias or the main fabric to tape down the seam allowance there. So what I'm just going to do now is to mark out my zip allowance to fix the zip. Okay, so remember that now it is easy for me because to find my zip allowance, because you know the line we used our iron to create it earlier is still there. So I just measured out what I have left of my zip allowance. I think I have about 3/4 of an inch out of the 1 inch I initially did. So I mark it out on the waist. Then I just took my hand straight on the peplum. At first I wanted to mark out that 3/4 on the peplum, but I noticed that if I do that, by the time I'm fixing the zip, it might likely make the zip bulge. So you can just take your hand straight from the waist down like I did. Like, I hope you can see the zip allowance I mark on the waist. I didn't mark 3/4 of an inch. So now I have sewn it down. Okay, I've gone ahead to re-sew down my zip allowance and iron it again. Okay, this is how I like to fix my zip. It makes my work easy and makes the fixing the zip a lot easier and faster, because by the time I'm sewing, the crease line my iron create for the zip allowance will still be there, and I'm just going to follow it through when I am sewing down the zip. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So after I ironed it down, I open it up. Then now it is going to be easy for me to fix my zip on the blouse. Okay, so I'm just going to pin down the zip together with the main cloth. Okay, so however you like to fix your zip, whichever method works for you, please go ahead and use it at this stage. Okay, but what is important is that you don't have a zip that is bulging. So after sewing, this is what I have. As you can see, the blouse is gradually coming together. Okay, so what we are just going to do now is we need to finish off the zip. Like, we need to take care of this excess zip that is peeking out here. So after I open it up like this, make sure you open up the zip. Okay, then you can go ahead and cut off the excess that you have on the upper part. Then I'm going to fold it in like this. Can you see? Use my pin to secure it. Then I'm going to just watch what I'm doing in the video, then fold it again, then use my pin to secure it. So this way I can now take the machine to tack it down. Okay, on this part, the same thing. First of all, fold it to the back. Okay, fold it to the back, then fold your zip allowance like this. Okay, I hope you understand. Just use your pin to secure it, then take it to the machine to sew it down. So after this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to bring out my sleeve. I've already prepared the sleeve. I'm sorry, I prepared it off camera, and unfortunately I did not film the making of the sleeve, but maybe I'm going to do a tutorial on how I achieve this like sleeve later on. If you want it, you can just let me know. So at this point, I was done fixing this the sleeve, and everything is in place. So I'm just going to iron it for the last time now before I try it on for you guys to see it. Okay, so if you have an overlocking machine, you can go ahead to overlock this armhole area after you fix the sleeve. Okay, or you use a bias to tape down the seam allowance. So what I'm just doing now is I'm going to iron it for the last time before I try it on for you guys to see. And I'm sorry about the lighting that keeps changing. Like, I didn't know that the lighting was changing because I was busy filming. There was no way I could have known, so please pardon me. So what I'm just doing now is just ironing. I'm just trying to smoothen out my seam so that the blouse would look like a ready-made. Okay, so that'll be all for today's tutorial. If you learn anything, like if you find anything interesting in the video, do well to leave it for me in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't as well, and please share this tutorial with your friends and sealmates, like anybody that you know would learn something from this tutorial. Please share my video with them. Okay, thank you so much for your support. God bless you all. And like I promised, I'm going to be uploading a tutorial on how I made the peplum later on in the week. I'm going to try my best to post the video earlier, okay, because I know a lot of people wants to see it. And I'm sorry for the delay with this sewing tutorial as well, because I am so sorry. Like, I work alone, I don't have apprentice, and I don't have anybody that work with me. It is just me, myself, and I. So it has been kind of overwhelming keeping up with clients' clothes and trying to shoot content for YouTube. I hope you guys will understand me. So, but all in all, I will always try my best to give you guys the best and the best. Okay, so thank you so much for your support. As always, I see all the comments, I see all the like, and I see all the encouraging word from you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you all. So until next time, you guys should stay fly and stylish at the same time. See you guys in my next tutorial. Bye.